What's happening, fellow patriots? It has been a rough week in the political world, to say the least. A lot has happened between Monday to today, and I'm not going to go very deep into it. I have some very mixed emotions about what has happened, and I'm not sure exactly how to put it and what I want to say about it, but there are just a few quick words that I'd like to put out there, and then you can make your own decision, your own opinion about it. But let's just say with January 6th, I wasn't very surprised with what Pence did. We were given some warning from Lin Wood, if any of you are familiar with that, if you've watched some of my videos that have talked about him and that talked about Pence and the possibility of him being a traitor. And after seeing what happened with him on Wednesday, I think we can pretty much confirm that he is a traitor. There have also been some other questionable things that Lin Wood has said about him. Lin Wood has also called him a child molester, and as some of you know, he has been associated with the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, and just those two things alone, if you take that away from Wednesday, is just enough to make me very distrustful of Pence. And I'm kind of glad I had that distrust already going into Wednesday and what happened, because I wasn't as let down with Pence. I was still let down, to say the least, but it wasn't as big of one. But a lot of people were saying that you can't call Pence a traitor because of what he did. He was following the law. And I'm not very familiar with the 12th Amendment and some of those that played into Pence and his job that he was supposed to do. So I'm not going to go into that because I'm not going to speak on something that I'm not knowledgeable about. But I will say that I think there is enough evidence to definitively call Pence a traitor, especially after seeing his action earlier this week. I do have to give him some kudos to not taking Pelosi's call. I believe it was yesterday. Pelosi is trying very hard to get Pence and the rest of Congress and Senate to invoke the 25th Amendment to not allow Trump to be in office for the remainder of his supposed first term. I do have full confidence, after seeing quite a bit of things from different people, I have full confidence that Trump will be sitting in the Oval Office come January 21st. Now, I could be wrong on that, so don't come at me and say, hey, you said he'd be in the Oval Office come January 21st. That is just my prediction. I have full faith that Trump will be in office again for a second term, but if not, I do believe that Trump will take down a lot of the deep state with him. If he can't make it into office, he will do his damnedest to make sure that the deep state falls. Now, moving on from Pence, I've seen a lot of people talk about what happened at the Capitol and how people stormed it. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that and not going to give a lot of my opinion because I've seen a lot of people talk about it. And I think that it's their job, that's, they have their own opinion and they can give it out. But, I think that there's more important news that can be talked about. So I will just say that I think that it was necessary what happened. I do believe that it was a planned event. I think Trump knew about it. I think it was a diversion to get Trump out of D.C. Rumor is he is now in Texas and will be moving on to Fort David. But I think that it was necessary. I'm not going to say that I condemn what happened. I'm not going to say that I condemn any type of violence. But I will say that Antifa were the violent ones. The Trump supporters that were involved were very peaceful. I have seen a lot of firsthand accounts of that. So I was not at DC. I wish I could have been, but I have seen plenty of firsthand accounts that proves that Trump supporters were very peaceful. There is a lot of speculation from the left that, the police handled it so different compared to what happened with BLM. And that's another conversation for another day, but I will say, again, I have seen many firsthand accounts of them being tear gassed and either paintballs or rubber bullets were used against them. So while it doesn't necessarily compare to the BLM riots, there are some similarities in the sense that the police did use tear gas on them. So there's that. But again, I'll say this again. I believe it was necessary that them, storming the Capitol. They didn't really storm it. I've seen footage of Capitol Police letting them in. So there is that. And when I say that I think that it was necessary, I'm really just meaning that, we've had enough of the government telling us what to do. We've had enough of the government leading our lives for us, telling us that we have to give them this much money, them telling us we have to wear a mask and all this other BS. And, it's time the government understands that, we run the government and the government doesn't run us. So, the resistance has begun. I think that even though it was Antifa who pretty much went in the Capitol, I think that that is a stepping stone for the rest of us patriots, that, this is our calling, that, we're going to put our foot down. We're not going to put up with any more of this. And so I really liked that a lot of Trump supporters were peaceful in going into the Capitol. And 2021 is the new 1776, in my opinion. I think this is the year that we put our foot down and say that enough is enough, and, we're going to have government that works for us and not the other way around. And I think that Trump, in these last 2 weeks of his first administration, is going to try very hard to get all of the declassified documents out and hopefully take down a lot of deep state. Moving on from the Capitol, I do believe that, Trump has not conceded, and a lot of people have said that they did. A lot of the YouTubers I'm subscribed to, I have a lot of respect for them, but I do have to disagree with some of them. I'm not going to name them because I do have a lot of respect for them, and they are entitled to their own opinion. But Trump has not conceded until he says the words, "I concede," and, Biden is officially the new president. Trump has not conceded. He didn't say any such thing. He's just, he said something along the lines of that our incredible journey is just beginning. And just knowing how our president is, I know that when he says our journey is just beginning, that our journey is just beginning, that this is his way of telling us that he is going to fight for us another day, that he is continuing his 5D chess moves. Trump has moved on from 4D. He is now in 5D chess, and I just have to applaud him for all that he has done in the past 4 years for the American people, and just what I believe he is going to continue to do in the next 2 weeks, and further from that, because as I said, I do believe Trump will be sitting in the Oval Office come January 21st. And he also said today that he will not be attending inauguration, and I have also seen a lot of people saying that, that's wrong. Trump should man up and attend Biden's inauguration, and I have to disagree with that. I think that Trump is right to say that he won't go because the Biden administration has applauded the voter that we have seen. And us American people, not even just patriots, but just American people in general, have to stand up and say that we cannot stand with an administration that applauds voter fraud, because there has been so much proof of that. And Biden and Harris and the rest of his cabinet have just applauded it, and they pay no mind to it. They call us crazy that there's no voter fraud. And I do have to be careful what I say, because I have heard some news that come January 9th, YouTube is going to ban anyone who goes too far into voter fraud, and I plan on doing another censorship experiment Sunday or Monday in regards to that. We'll see if the 10 subscribers that I have, if that makes any effect on the banning of a channel, because I am willing to risk losing my channel to prove a point about big tech and what they do. So if I do that experiment and I do lose my channel, do not worry, I will have a backup. When I do create that backup, I will link it. That way everyone can subscribe to that one. That way if my channel does get nuked, all of my videos are over there, and any new videos that I decide to make will go on that channel as well. But I think that Trump is doing the right thing and not attending the inauguration, because even if Trump somehow does not make it to a second term, at least for 2021 to 2024, because he may run again, I don't know. But if he doesn't happen to make it for a second term, I think he will continue to do what he can in the political world for exposing voter fraud. And I think up in the next 2 weeks, he will try to make our voting election system so much better. He has said as much. So we will continue to see what happens. We will see what happens if I do the censorship experiment, if the amount of followers does affect nuking of a channel. I will say that at least on Instagram, the amount of followers does seem to matter in the deletion of accounts, because I myself am running about 130 to 140 followers on Instagram and have not received any warnings. My account has not been deleted. Nothing has been taken down so far, but I have followed many accounts who are now on their 10th, 11 accounts who have just been deleted as of yesterday, and they ran about 20,000 more followers. So I do think that at least in the Facebook, Instagram world, that followers do matter. Obviously, with my first censorship experiment, nothing happened. I did not receive any warnings. The video was not taken down, and I went in depth with Dominion and voter fraud. So we shall see come January 9th if I make a new video. If they do anything about it, we'll see. So stay tuned for that. I will try and make that video here soon. Trump has gotten back his Twitter account. His ban has been lifted. He's made a couple tweets today, like the inauguration tweet I was telling you about just a couple minutes ago. He is still indefinitely banned on Facebook and Instagram. No surprise there. We know how the Nazi Mark Zuckerberg is. So we will just continue to play it by ear, see what happens. I don't know if any of you follow the whole Q movement, that conspiracy theory. I just have to say that quite a few people I follow are in the Q movement. And let's just say that if Q is right, Trump will be sitting in office come January 21st. So, putting my faith in God that this goes right. If not, we just have to do what we can to survive, do what we can to continue to make America great again, to keep America great, to not let socialism rule our country, as we know the Biden administration will do. So we just have to keep the faith, everybody. And I will keep you informed as much as I can. I will give my opinion on certain things in the coming days as much as I can. For more immediate updates, you can follow me on Instagram at freedomspeaks1776. Otherwise, this is today's video, just a couple of my thoughts on what has happened in the past week. This is your host, President-elect Arwal, and Freedom Speaks.